John Keats was born in 1795 and died in 1821. He was an English Romantic poet and one of the main figures in the second Romantic movement, with Percy Shelley and Lord Byron. John Keats died when he was 25 years old and most of his works were published 4 years before his death. He wrote most of his poems between 1814 and 1819. Keats challenged poetic forms, and created his own distinct literary configuration. He is known, particularly, for his odes, which he wrote in 1819. These are characterized for their great and powerful imagery. During his lifetime, he published 54 poems in 3 small volumes and a few magazines. John Keats' most recognized works include I Stood Tiptoe Upon a Little Hill, Sleep and Poetry, On First Looking into Chapman's Homer, Endymion, Ode to a Nightingale, To Autumn, among others. On the Grasshopper and Cricket was written in 1816. As one of the main figures of the Romantic movement, John Keats portrayed the beauty of nature and its capacity to bring joy in his poems. On the Grasshopper and Cricket praises the continuous beauty of nature by taking into account the song of 2 particular insects, the grasshopper and the cricket. The poem has 14 lines and it can be divided into 1 octet and 1 sestet, following the Petrarchan sonnet form. It has an ABBA rhyme scheme and it is written in iambic pentameter. The use of this form can be associated with Keats's belief regarding love and nature and how they are both related to each other. According to the poet, nature offers love and joy and the human response should correspond that fondness. Furthermore, the main theme in On the Grasshopper and Cricket is nature and its eternal delight and its persistent presence. First stanza. The poetry of earth is never dead. When all the birds are faint with the hot sun, and hide in cooling trees, a voice will run from hedge to hedge about the new-mown mead. That is the grasshopper's, he takes the lead. In summer luxury, he has never done with his delights, for when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. Analysis of the poem stanza 1, the first stanza is set in summer. Notice the first line and how it foregrounds the message of the poem, the poetry of earth is never dead. The lyrical voice begins the stanza by making this strong statement and proceeding to portray a summer scene. During a hot summer day, the birds are faint with the hot sun and they hide from the sun and stop singing in order to rest. However, as the first line stated, the poetry of earth is never dead, nature continues to persist and the grasshopper takes the lead. The lyrical voice describes how the song of the grasshopper emerges, a voice will run. The grasshopper continues hopping and continues singing the poetry of earth, he enjoys life and he is always at ease and having fun. When the grasshopper is satisfied with his delights, for when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. Second stanza. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening, when the frost has wrought a silence, from the stove there shrills the cricket's song, in warmth increasing ever, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost. The grashoppers among some grassy hills. The second stanza is set in winter. The first line is similar to that of the first stanza because it mentions the main message of the poem. Nevertheless, in the second stanza, it is accentuated, as the lyrical voice says that the poetry of earth is ceasing never. The lyrical voice portrays a winter scene, on a lone winter evening. Once again, at the beginning of the stanza, silence is mentioned, when the frost has wrought a silence, but this silence will be interrupted by an insect's song. From the stove there shrills the cricket's song. When winter arrives and all creatures shelter from the cold, loneliness and silence appear to reign. However, the cricket's song emerges and emphasizes the persistent quality of nature. The cricket is forced to seek warm indoors, but his song gets louder as he finds more and more warmth, in warmth increasing ever. The listeners of this song mistake the cricket's song for the grasshopper's song, and the lyrical voice says that the cricket's song reminds him of the grasshopper's song, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost, the grasshoppers among some grassy hills. This final couplet refers to the cycle of seasons and how, despite being different, winter and summer are part of the same thing. The cricket's song is linked to the grasshopper's song, as they are both part of nature's persistent and loving force. This final message unifies the contrast that the lyrical voice has made throughout the poem. The contrast is both formal, as the seasons are described in different types of stanzas, and metaphorical, as different insects represent and characterize different seasons. However, the beginning of each stanza and the end of the poem unify these different expressions of nature and accentuate the persistence of nature as a unified whole.